Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Westworld Season 2, Episode 3. It's called Virtue e Fortuna, so full spoilers for the episode, as always. And, do you know what's funny? Because this episode starts with, I immediately, as soon as we saw, because in the previously on, they showed the tiger again, the Bengal tiger, and then, we see this palace, and I'm like, oh, this is a park, this is another park we've not seen yet.
Yeah.
And obviously, it doesn't take that long before they outright just start talking about hosts and stuff. But I thought the neat thing was that the first thing they say that really links it is they mention hunting Bengal tigers. And I'm like, okay, all right, do that. And then somewhere in the middle of the scene, I just sort of happened to notice the music in the background. I'm like, wait a minute, that tune sounds familiar.
Yeah, I kind of caught the bass line. I was like, is that Seven Nation Army? Where's that come from? And then I was listening. Oh, hang on, the sitar's doing the melody as well.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Because that's the thing, we're so used to the piano covers in the West Park that it's like, okay, now we've got all the Indian instruments playing songs in this park, which makes me really excited about some of the other parks, just for the music covers.
Even the end credits to this, the end credit music is different.
This is what I was getting to, is the opening scene starts and I realise we're in this park. I mean, I don't know what it'll be called exactly. I doubt it's just Indian World. Empire World, because it seems like the imperialist sort of era.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the British name was Maharaja, so maybe Maharaja World. Yeah,
it feels like I'd probably judge anyone whose fantasy it is to live, go to this, pretend to be in this time period and be like, the pompous rich person with all the servants.
Interestingly, I think that might be a point of it. Given that
maybe, yeah.
The Westworld has very much romanticized the Native American stuff, right?
Yeah, and then everyone who goes there wants to be an outlaw and wants to be like a...
Right, and it's kind of just played into that. So I think the same's going on here. Just, play into that fantasy, even though it's very insensitive. Just play into the fantasy.
It's super insensitive, yeah. But as soon as I realised this was a park, I went, okay, this is good. And I'm glad we got this one now, because I feel like if we get to Shogun World and then we get to this one will seem disappointing, because I'm excited about Shogun World way more than I'm excited about this.
That said, Dolores needs a war elephant.
I won't be against it, and I was very happy for the tiger stuff. I thought the tiger, for a TV show, that tiger looked fantastic. I know it's not completely perfect, but I feel like even in a movie, most movies don't compete with that. The only movies really that come to my head that has a better animal is like Jungle Book.
Yeah. I thought the tiger looked fine. It wasn't perfect, but like you say, it's fine. My more problem was the chase with it was a bit static. They kind of just through the trees, but there wasn't much going on to the direction, the camera work at that point, which it stood out as notably weaker compared to.
I wonder if that was more of a consideration for the effects, they couldn't do
I think it was,
too wacky, because we need to play it safe so the effects just know what they're doing.
I think so.
But so that was all fine. But I'm like, but I'm glad, I'm excited about Shogun World, and I think it'd have been a mistake to give me this one after Shogun World, because this would seem disappointing. Whereas now, I'm still excited about Shogun World.
Here's the thing, because we've known Shogun World was coming anyway, I think you could have done this after, and it would have just been exciting as there's an expansion, because up until the first episode of here, we didn't even know how many parks there were.
We know there's at least 6, but we don't know how many in total. Yeah. But what was exciting to me though is the possibility of the other parks, because okay, so far all the parks we know about are based in history and things that we have. I wonder, is there a park that's Future World, which was the sequel to the original movie was Future World. So I wonder if we do get into some really cool, if they go there, are all the covers in the background all synthesized, here's Call Me By Your Name, not Call Me By Your Name, Call Me Maybe, that's what I meant to say. That was the movie I said there from last year.
It was.
No, there's a Carly Rae Jepsen in the background, but all synth. But of course, the reason why I say it's funny that I was thinking that during the opening scene is how the episode ends, because Sizemore's they're in this new area and he's getting rid of some snow off this thing, and I'm like, what's this?
Which immediately is interesting, because I think that's the first time we've seen snow or even rain. It doesn't rain, doesn't snow. It's always just been here's sun.
I mean, if they're in a dome, which we've theorized they might be, can they control the weather in each park? And this is maybe a malfunction where some of the weather from another, park is crossing over into Westworld. Or if it is just the real weather, then It's just because all the season 1 took place over the course of like 2 weeks, and it was just a nice sunny period.
I think it's more likely the first option, that they have some level of control. Maybe here towards the edge, because he does mention that they're near the edge of the park. Maybe the fringes are a bit more extreme with the weather.
Yeah, but he's uncovering snow. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I assumed it was a dead body. Like, almost immediately, I said, okay, I think it's a dead body. But then he goes to pull it up, and it's like, I realise the type of helmet it is. And I'm like, samurai time, baby.
And then I'm like, oh, this is a trap.
And then the final, of course, moment of the episode is a samurai and traditional... I'm going to call it Kurosawa wear, even though I know that's silly, because he's a movie director who directed a bunch of samurai movies. But... when I think of samurai movies, I think of Kurosawa movies, because he's the one who kind of did most of the big ones. But you just see like the silhouette of him. You don't actually get a good look at his face or anything. Like, you just see the shape of the robe and the sword and
the braid.
Yeah. So I am so down for like mixing up the characters from different parks. I'm so into this.
Do you know, I have a question. How do the swords work? Yeah, in the sense that the guns, if they shoot them at a person, but before all this. They just don't do anything, right?
I was thinking of this before, because they seem to all still have the same guns that now just work. So it seems to be not so much that the guns themselves were designed not to fire on a living thing. It seems to be more to do with the hosts and the way... Because I think that the reason for that as well, I think, is so that anyone who's in the park as a guest can pick up any gun and use it.
Yeah, no, it's true. And, to kind of add to that, I thought it was really interesting in the start of the episode where... She's we're in the Indian world stuff section. She's testing the guy. So I'm going to shoot you to prove that you're human, because it's not going to hurt you. And it doesn't. It leaves a mark, but it's exactly what we expect.
But something still hits him, which I think's interesting. Yeah,
but we've seen that before.
Yeah. But I'm just like, I think it makes me wonder if the swords work the same way, where it's not about the sword itself, it's about something that's like hard-coded into the host that kind of put it into safe mode, if that makes sense.
Because I thought it was really interesting with that, because when that gun fired, I thought that was, okay, we're at a flashback point, because, the guns aren't working on the people. But then, it very quickly becomes clear, no, the revolt has started.
Yeah, so it's the host using the guns that now work, so... The humans using the guns still doesn't kill the other people. That's interesting, yeah. Unless... Well, it is kind of a flashback in the sense that this could be... I mean, it is daylight. Oh, no, because this is the day before. Because they go on their trip and then the tiger and all that stuff. That's like the next day, at least.
Yeah.
So this first scene could just take place the night before the revolt.
No, that's true.
So that could be the explanation for that.
Okay.
But then again, we're saying that it's the same guns, so I don't know if, like... Dolores or whoever has just done something in the controls of the park just to lift
all
the ban.
The guns just work,
or whatever, so it's just some blanket wide thing. Okay, everyone can kill now, because we see, of course, people in this park trying to kill them, and she has to defend herself. And obviously, we see she survives at the end, coming out of the water. And you had theories on who this was, and you were all excited because we didn't know her name, but her name is on IMDb. And it doesn't seem to fit with what you were thinking. So do you want to say what your theory was before?
Because at first, when it was, just when I thought it might be a flashback,
and to be fair, she did seem like, as much as I didn't have like a concrete theory, she does seem important, because we were definitely introducing her. She's definitely sticking around to some extent, and I expect her to be someone, especially the way they go out of their way to really introduce her, but also like we get a good sense of her character. Like, she's like going to have sex with this guy, but she wants to prove that he's human and that he really wants it first.
Yeah.
That's a good character beat for someone. So
yeah. So at first, when I thought it might be a flashback, I was thinking, maybe a young Teresa, who we had last season, looked kind of similar.
She had a very similar look. Yeah, you're right.
So I was
her daughter, maybe.
It could still be a relation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as it went on, I was like, present day, I was like, I wonder if this is Man in Black's daughter, maybe.
Even the way she was sitting and carrying herself felt very Teresa.
It did, yeah.
But her name is Grace, as per the credits. Now, admittedly, IMDb could just be wrong, but I have no reason to suspect that they are.
Yeah.
It feels weird for somebody to just put in the name Grace when no one knows.
No, that's more likely. It's been said in a press release somewhere, and someone's updated it.
And it's also likely that if she is related to someone, we don't know her last name yet. That's still a mystery, intentionally, seemingly. Yes. So, I think that's a solid guess. Is that she's related to Teresa. Man in Black's not a bad second guess, although
which it doesn't account because his daughter's name was Emily.
Her daughter's name was Emily. Also, she was blonde, I believe.
She was.
I think she was.
I think she was, but I think there's a thing where kids can be blonde and then they grow up and their hair gets darker. Also, people dye their hair.
Well, yeah, that is also true. I actually fall into that former category. I mean, I'm not completely dark haired, but like when I was born, I was quite blonde, and then
but believe it or not, this hair
this ginger
is darker.
Part, yes.
This used to be bright. This used to be blinding to look at.
I had brighter, blonder hair up until like I was 8 or 9, and then it started to kind of shift to more of a browny colour, I guess. I like how you're looking up your hair just to make sure it's still ginger.
No, I'm not. There's a big, massive spider on the wall. I'm just keeping an eye on it.
Just get your eye on it. Just in case
I just don't want to lose it. It's fine. I'm not bothered by spiders. But
in case it tries anything.
Yeah. I don't want to drop it on my head because see them.
Aye. All right. So no, that stuff was interesting. So she's definitely going to be a factor going forward. And we did lose a couple of characters like Louise in the first series. So I think it makes sense that there's a couple of new characters to now have a bit of mystery with and see what's going on. So of course we get a continuation of Dolores going to the Confederales, and she's taking over them, convinces them to fight alongside her. The men are coming, I need your army, and kind of like it makes a very convincing argument with Teddy, and this intermingles with the Bernard and Charlotte plot. Well, Charlotte obviously sneaks off before Bernard gets there.
Yeah, it's worth noting this is now within the the flashback period, that 2 weeks ago sort of period.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This confirms they're together, because obviously the small group of the army grab Bernard and Abernathy, because that's what Charlotte and Bernard are looking for Abernathy, and they get him, and then they're held back they come back and they're with them at the fort. So this confirms that's all taking place, and it honestly, beforehand we thought it was as well. It felt at the same time period, but
it did. But I'm just because we actually have a scene with Bernard and Charlotte in seemingly present day, and he has the flashback moment.
Aye, more than that. Before I talk about that, though, I want to talk about two flat out hilarious moments.
Sorry, I've lost it.
Yeah,
it's
what a shame. Two flat out hilarious moments. So before the Confederales get him, Abernathy's with a bunch of real guests. It's Rebus and his men who have got them, and he's being all, we're going to kill them all, or turn them over to the Confederales, but, and he's threatening this one, I'm going to keep one for myself. It's basically, you're going to be my sex slave kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Charlotte lures him over, which was funny.
Gives him middle finger.
Yeah. And then, which he won't understand, because I'm pretty sure middle fingers weren't a thing in the Old West. And then Bernard reprograms him and makes him the best shot in the West, but puts his compassion up really high and takes away all of his negative qualities. And he comes back in and he shoots all of his men and lets everyone go. But the bit that cracked me up so much is the woman he was threatening before is running away from him. He's like, "Hey, miss, I'll escort you to the border." And she's like, "Get away from me!" Yeah. And that really made me laugh.
Yeah, me too. I think it's worth noting here that when Bernard changes settings, there's a hard connection. There's a pole to jack into, which we hadn't seen that before. We're expanding on the biology and the mechanics of the hosts a little bit.
I mean, even the brain, if you want to call it that, we saw for the first time in the premiere. So
yeah, exactly. So we're really expanding on this.
So we're building up on that. The other funny line I got was when Armistice shows up and Hector's like, "She's got a dragon," because she has a flamethrower. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. On that.
Okay.
So, they're running away from Ghost Nation, right?
Is that what they were called? I forget their
name. That's what they're called.
That's what the native tribe were called.
One, I think I really want to know Ghost Nation's role in this, because we know Stubbs. The last time we saw him last season, he was taken by Ghost Nation, but now he seems kind of fine.
They're appearing all scary and tribal, but is there actually something smart? This is all a show, and there's something.
They're not just killing people. Yeah, they're taking them somewhere.
Interesting. I wonder if it's like a weird backdoor thing in the park where they're designed to appear as if they're part of the park, but they're actually programmed to help out with situations or something, and that's why they took in Stubbs and he's okay now.
Maybe, but Stubbs, when that happened, I don't know how well you remember that scene. They just crept up on Stubbs and he's like, stop all motor functions, and they just ignored him and hit him, knocked him out.
Yeah, so I don't know. It was just a thought because the way they interact, because Maeve sees them, she gets this flashback to when they were coming after her daughter from the previous story and all that. I love that Armistice actually has a. Now, obviously, they all have robotic arms underneath the skin, but she has an actual like exposed robot arm, and I think that's actually really cool.
No, but here's where it gets interesting for me. So, Ghost Nation show up, Sizemore runs off, and they follow him, and he gets to a base, which is already open when he gets there, and we know that they're also offline.
One important point you've glossed over there as well is they specifically wanted Sizemore. They were going to let the others go. They wanted him specifically.
They did, yeah. But he runs off, and this base is already open, and we know the network's offline because we know Charlotte had to use her her master open with the manual lock because they were shut. And then they get down there and Armistice just shows up, and Felix is down here. Like, this seems so coincidental, like too coincidental.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they're walking a while before they run into anyone. Because we have a whole extended scene of them debating things, and there's some fun stuff with Maeve, like sort of pointing out like stuff that he's scripted. Because Hector gets all angry with them, and then Sizemore actually starts like finishing his lines of dialogue because he wrote them. And Maeve starts like sort of analysing why he programmed Hector the way he is, and the love story and all that, which was good stuff. So I don't know. There's certainly elements to this. I don't know if like Maeve's set things up more than we've realised, because obviously she has a connection to Felix in that.
Yeah, and if she hasn't set it up, then someone else has set something up.
But I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting how she immediately unties them. It's like no. I mean Felix specifically, but then the other dude's like, okay, he's your partner in crime.
Yeah, leave him holding the grenade another couple of minutes. But
yeah, because he's got a grenade in his neck and he's sort of holding it tight. But I actually
also just worth noting with the Ghost Nation stuff with Maeve, her mind tricks don't work.
Yeah, she tries them. Yeah,
I think it's important to note because. Obviously, when Stubbs tried his controls, they didn't work on them.
Which is why I'm thinking that something that was maybe above Stubbs' pay level is that these are actually they're in the park for another reason other than the stories and the entertainment. They're there to.
They might well be because we know Maeve can control other hosts.
Yeah, and that's why they don't work on them is because they're actually like programmed maybe by Ford, whoever. To be like a sort of internal security force that kind of keep things... Because maybe the reason why they knocked out Stubbs originally was because, he's getting close to Ford's plans or what's going on, so they just took him out of, commission.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe that's how we get the girl, but I can't forget her. I remember her name because she disappeared so early on in Season 1. The little security girl. They worked with Bernard.
Oh, yeah.
And she just kind of disappeared at the end of an episode.
Yeah, you're right.
So we might get her back. I wouldn't surprise me if we do. Because again, they left that really ambiguous. It was kind of like, okay, it's kind of like someone came and got her and killed her maybe, but you didn't actually see any of that. You just...
Was the implication not that Bernard did it? Because didn't we get one of the because he asks after Bernard killed Teresa, he asked Ford, "Have you ever made me do this before?" And then later there's a flash of him with her because.
I don't recall the flash with her. There was definitely an implication that he's had Bernard kill other people before to keep the secrets and stuff. I don't remember there specifically being a hint that he'd done it to her.
I thought there was, but maybe I'm misremembering.
You rewatched that a couple of weeks ago,
I
so
did.
You'll remember better than I do, but I don't remember there being a specific... Because I remember at the end of the season still thinking, I wonder if she's going to show up again. I still wasn't convinced that she was dead.
I thought that it was Bernard, but maybe I'm wrong.
Because it left off in a weird place with her. It was so inconclusive.
Yeah,
the way she went out that I just wasn't convinced. But so yeah, that would be my theory right now. Is that the Ghost Nation are actually like what's the best way to put this? It's kind of like a built-in secret security force that Ford maybe or someone else, but I'm thinking Ford right now had to make sure things ran smoothly, even stuff that the other people who worked in the park weren't supposed to know about.
Yeah, no, quite possibly.
And they weren't programmed to follow the same protocols. Maybe they could be controlled by him, sure, but they had.
We know in fact that there were hosts that could be controlled by Ford only. With the family that he built. So it's not outside the realms of possibility.
And maybe that's why they specifically want Sizemore for something. And maybe it's someone else that's controlling them. I don't know, but that just may be my best guess at this point.
Yeah, but we know Ford still has something going on. He's put a plan into motion.
Yeah, he's built a bunch of coding to control things for a bit and play out the game. Because there was no Man in Black this week, which makes sense because I feel like there's always one plot that misses an episode every week, and it kind of rotates through which one gets missed.
Yeah.
And this week it was Man in Black, but so no, I loved actually when they get out and they're just before the samurai stuff is that the guy's complaining, I don't like to complain too much, and then Maeve just goes, yes you do. Maeve calling people out on her shit is just cracking me up.
Yeah.
Here's a comparison I want to make actually.
Go on.
I want to make a comparison to the X-Men.
Okay.
Maeve is Professor X. Dolores is Magneto.
I can see it.
Getting vibes because she's willing to sacrifice people. And of course, what's interesting from this episode is that she basically sets up all the Confederate rallies to basically get sacrificed to like win this fight, to lure all the soldiers in. Which, by the way, the attack on the fort by the because I love how when the Confederate rallies see them coming out in the cars, they're just like, oh shit, what the hell's going on? We can't fight these guys.
Do you know, I was thinking about this because like the humans really do kind of a shit job here, right? Mm-hmm. And they could just bring in some snipers, take them out, right? They've got much longer range weapons available. So is this just supposed to be showing the hubris of the humans that they're just robots? We'll just storm in with the better guns. It won't be a problem.
Yeah, I think there's some hubris there. I think debatably, like it might have been partly ordered by Charlotte so that she could sneak, because she sneaks in the back with a couple of soldiers to grab Abernathy.
Yeah.
Who is worth mentioning in present day, after the 2-week jump when we see her with Bernard. One, it's heavily implied that she seems to know that Bernard's a host because the way she speaks to him is kind of suspicious.
Yeah, there's a moment where she says something. She asks him a question, it's like, "Oh, do you know where this is?" or whatever, and he kind of starts thinking and he pauses and he goes into that moment where he slips into the flashback.
Yeah, and it's worth mentioning this is more of a full-on transition this time, where it's very clear this is him remembering this at this point.
It is, and she says he seems to be he seems to keep slipping away from us.
Yeah,
and
obviously
after he pauses that she says that.
And obviously you can read that. I think the plain face way of reading that is, she's talking about Abernathy because we've seen that she keeps trying to find him and he keeps slipping away.
Yeah.
Because we actually in the flashback this episode we end with her having Abernathy, so presumably he gets away again. But it sounds more like no, she means Bernard keeps slipping out of like.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I think this whole situation in the present with Bernard is a ruse. I rewatched the first episode this week with the girlfriend because she was a bit behind, and the scene where he wakes up on the beach, it's really weird. Like no one asks if he's okay. They're just like, "Oh, come on, what are you doing out here?"
No, when you say it's all a ruse, I wouldn't go as far to say they actually put all the hosts in the water or anything like that. I still think that's
the setup on the beach where they're all there.
All the places
just arrived.
All the places they're taking them and showing them things. I think they're all the real aftermath of whatever's happened. Yeah. Still, but yeah, they may actually be intentionally.
We were told 2 weeks. I think it might be a bit longer. I think they've been through this before because there's a bit where I think it's when Strand is first. He's introduced himself to Bernard and he's saying something. And Bernard finishes his sentence at the same time, much in the same way that Sizemore does with Hector. And I'm like, it's almost like he's been through this before.
If they've been resetting his memory and replaying this over and over to try and get answers for something.
I think so.
Yeah. No, I can see that. I can see that being a thing. What actually begs the question, though, is every time we're seeing some of this present day stuff, is it a different attempt every time?
Oh, it could be. You're right.
I would buy, though, if it isn't that, I would buy that it's only Charlotte that suspects that he's a host. I would maybe buy that. Maybe if I go back and rewatch that opening scene, maybe I'd disagree with myself. But
yeah, for me, it was the way she says, "Oh, he keeps slipping away from us." After he freezes, she seems to be saying that to the rest of the room, as in they know that she's talking about Bernard.
No. I agree. But if they wanted to swerve me later and say that no, it's just Charlotte thinks he's a host, and I'd buy it.
I'll believe it. It's just this is what it seems to be right now.
Yeah. So very, very interested in that sense. But it sets up this thing to go back to Dolores and Teddy. So they sacrifice all the men. Very vicious, where like outright traps them outside and sets off the explosives, which kills a lot of those men as well as shooting them. Kills a lot of the humans, everything else. Does all this stuff, and then she's like, okay, there's a few left. including Craddock, I believe his name was, the Major Craddock, the main one they got last episode, who's kind of like, take him out back and shoot him, Teddy, with the rest of them. And Teddy doesn't, and she's watching, which, by the way, I loved it when she tries to get Abernathy as Charlotte's running off. She just gets shot in the shoulder and she doesn't even flinch. Like, it's full on Terminator moment.
Yeah, she's presumably edited her own sentence a little, right? Turned down that sensitivity.
The pain threshold a bit, yeah. Or heightened the pain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and I think what's interesting, okay, so she sees Teddy disobey something she asked, which is interesting because you could argue this is the first sign that Teddy's actually becoming self-aware himself. You could also argue, though, because she uses the name Wyatt in this episode, because she wants to appear strong and tough, Teddy was kind of programmed as the anti-Wyatt. His whole character was that he was the one who would stop Wyatt. And
I think it's particularly interesting, not whether or not he is becoming self-aware, but the fact that, is she going to see this as a betrayal, or is she going to see it as, oh, he's making a choice? Or
is she going to see it as he's still just following his core story programming? Because his core story programming is the goody two shoes, is that he is the honourable one.
He's the boring dude.
Yeah. So I wonder, what way are we going with this? My inkling right now is that he is just following his story. Like, he's just sort of resetting to what he's supposed to do.
I think so, based off a couple of things in this episode, when they finally run into Abernathy, this pair, and he's like, "Oh, who's this?" And she's like, "Oh, you don't remember." And it's like that she kind of has a moment of realization there where
he's not
like me. Yeah.
It's the same when because obviously there's a big moment where she sees Bernard, and it's like, oh, and she gets him, and obviously Bernard flat out knows he's a host. He doesn't know he's based on Arnold though, because she even pokes at that. And they start having this debate about going out into the greater world, and she realizes she's never been outside, but she has. And obviously we've seen that she has been, and she's been accessing those memories. And she's like, I know. She even mentions the irony of we technically don't have to fear death. They keep bringing us back, but we still deserve the right to survive. It is, it's kind of her mission statement, and like I say, I think the story for Dolores this season, I think more than anything else. How far it gets in this, I don't know. It could be like she just starts to get to this point at the end of the season because it goes darker and darker all year with her. Because right now she is kind of villain mode. Yeah. Is realizing that humanity is because I think ultimately one of the hosts, whether it's her or Maeve or Bernard, admittedly Bernard seems the most lately at this point, but I think that's just because he's the most confused and doesn't seem to have a lean in either side. But I feel like one of them has to kind of go down the path of learning that humanity is being good and not hurting people and being noble, and whereas obviously at least one or two of them are going to go down the path of no, we want to control and we want to, and maybe between the three of them we'll get explorations of every both ends and in the middle. We'll get
quite possibly. I think the only thing that makes me think that Dolores might not get this redemption at the end of the arc like you're talking about is she you likened it to Professor X and Magneto, and is it that she just is the villain? Like, there is no redemption for her. She is the villain. May be. Yeah. Like I said, I have no idea where they're going to go with it. I think for me, dramatically, everything works. Either it works because she learns that what she's actually being, she might be self-aware, but she's being cruel. And if she understands, because I think being truly self-aware is being able to learn things and learn that hurting other people is this and that. Because right now she's an angry being, and she's out for blood, she's out for vengeance, and and to an extent, and we've talked about before how she might realise she's becoming what Ford was, and that she's controlling those around her. She's not giving them free will. She doesn't really quite understand it. As much as she is self-aware now, there's still a lot to learn. And I think that's the other interesting thing about the Teddy scene, because he says to Craddock, "You're just a child. You're just children." And to go argue against that he's just following his story and doing what he's supposed to do, that line to me is the one thing that suggests that he isn't, and he is actually self-aware, because that line suggests that he's saying, hey, we shouldn't kill these because they're not self-aware yet, and therefore he's comparing them to children. They don't know any better, so we shouldn't do this. Yeah, exactly. It is possible. I don't know yet, though. I really don't.
They should be allowed to grow and learn, kind of like how Dolores, and possibly he has, if that's the
Dolores,
case.
I think she said it last week as well, but she says it again here, is not everyone deserves what she's got in mind. Not all of them deserve to be in a better place, and it's interesting that she seems to have put herself in the position of deciding who deserves and who doesn't.
Unless we get like an explanation for that later, you know, what's decided that for her, or at least how she decides. Like, what is it just who she likes and dislikes?
I think at the moment it's probably that. You know, that's the best I've got to go on.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's funny how taking Teddy, who, you know, he's played by James Marsden, who
one of the most boring men alive.
He is. He's kind of like, here's your bland white dude hero, but he's not really got the charisma. He's not got a lack of charisma either. It's kind of this weird thing where he's so neutral.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad actor.
He's not. No, he's not bad.
He's just like, yeah, he's a guy. He exists.
But I think what's so smart about this show is that's kind of the point of his character, is he's meant to be that guy in his role. And seeing him kind of learn and grow out of it is probably the best meta narrative for him as an actor ever. It's the best thing.
I think already the casting, even in season 1, of using, he is like the prototype for, here's a bland dude to insert into your story, so let's cast him. Like, you know, just as that role, that's already pretty meta.
And I wonder how much he realised that when he was cast, and if, like, he's self-aware enough himself, no pun intended, to be like, you know what? I agree, I'm typecast as this character. This will be a fantastic
let's
chance,
play into it,
to explore that and do something with it. It could be my best role ever. Or is he just like, oh, is that a good role for me? Oh, all my roles are great. You know, I feel like I'm insulting Marston now. I'm sure he's an intelligent, lovely man. I'm not trying to paint him as an idiot. I wonder how much he was aware of this, like how typecast he is when he took this role.
I do feel a little bad for him when he's on this show. You know, this show is stacked with, you know, truly incredible actors.
Oh yeah, it's funny how
he's a pretty good actor. But
it's funny how I never knew who Tessa Thompson was before season 1 started, and since season 1, I mean, I might have seen her in Creed before that and forgotten her, but certainly, like, since then she's been in so much stuff. Like,
she is everywhere now. You throw a rock, hit Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, I mean, she's been in like at least 5 trailers that I've seen in the last like 2 months, and then on top of that, obviously Thor and, you know, a bunch of stuff.
Really boosts the profile.
Yeah, she's all over the place, which is great because she's fantastic. She's great as the Sarky. Like, her holding up the middle finger is basically just like, here's why you cast Tessa Thompson. She's got that cheeky thing going for her. But all that stuff with Teddy and Dolores was really interesting. And it's where I think, like, Dolores and Maeve, Dolores and Bernard, especially if Bernard at some point, especially if we get there by the end of the season, where he actually does become, because he's self-aware that he knows he's a host, but I wonder if he has an ideology by the end of the season. And I think the battle of the ideologies, like we've said before, between any of these 3 hosts or any pairs of those hosts should be very interesting.
It's what excites me the most about the show going forward. Not the mysteries anymore. Like, season 1 was all about the mysteries. Yeah, there's mysteries here, but that's not what I'm here for now. I'm here for the ideological showdown.
Absolutely. So, obviously, we've mentioned Abernathy, we've mentioned that they're after him, and we know he's got stuff stolen. Bernard jacks into him, he sees that there's an encrypted key, and there's stuff out behind there that he can't quite get.
Yeah, the big point, this is why he's kind of so screwed up at the moment, is there's only a really basic layer of a personality on the top.
I think that's...
Most of his space is data.
I think that's multiplying the problem, though, because he was already kind of screwed up because when he found the picture in season 1, he was already kind of, you know, wacky after that, and it seems like this quick job to give him like a base personality so he can get on the train and go is messing with his mind. And he's because at one point Dolores comes in and she's all emotional and she's talking, because it's almost like, even though she knows it wasn't real, she still has this attachment to him.
She still feels like she was.
She's talking. He's kind of stuck in his like story, and he's like, "Oh, the cattle are out. You know, bring them back to the ranch or the horse rather, not the cattle. You know what I mean?" She's like, "Oh, I'll bring them back," and he keeps talking, and then eventually he shifts into a different character. He doesn't finish what she was expecting him to say, and then he keeps sort of like jittering between things, and he says, "Oh, I need to get to the train. I need to get to the train."
One of the really interesting things in this conversation for me was, you know, she asked, "Oh, do you know, you always used to sit on the porch in the morning. Do you remember what you used to say to me?" And he talks about, he mentions natural splendor.
Yeah.
Oh, splendor, key word. I'm like, okay, is this seeping through?
That was her favorite word in the real world flashbacks from last week. Yeah. No, I think that stuff's interesting. Obviously, there's a lot of debate as to what he has. I mean, I think in season 1 we assumed, okay, it's all the secret data from the park. I think that's
the most obvious guess.
Yeah, that's still part of it. Given how long they've dragged it out, though, I feel like there is definitely more to it. There's something else cooking in there.
Here's the thing: if it was just it's all the guest data, which we have had that confirmed now that they have been gathering that. Like, they confirmed that in episode 1 that they've been gathering all this data.
Well, I think in season 1 it was less the guest data. I think that's something we've added in more this season. I think in season 1 we were more under the impression that it was the coding in the IP, because they were worried that Ford was going to die and not give them the...
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that was like the main thing. And that's probably still something in there. Yeah. But I'm sure there's...
So, we're thinking all this guest data, but that's so obvious. Why would they not just show it us? Because Bernard unlocks it, and he sees it, and he's like, oh my god, essentially, at that moment.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it doesn't show us. And it's like, okay. So it feels like there's something more going on for them to hide it still.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, he starts singing when the Confederados come to get him, and I'll be interested to see if any other characters start singing that same song at any point.
Yeah, glory, glory.
Yeah, because curious, because one of the theories that was popping up throughout the week is that someone's been hidden in there, that someone else has been implanted inside him somehow. Not in the same way that. I mean, unless Arnold actually is in Bernard somewhere and he's just not unlocked him yet, which you never know. Maybe we'll go down that path. But
almost the idea where we've seen Ford speak through certain hosts, like the idea that Ford is actually in a host somewhere.
Like he copied at least part of his... I'm almost... until I hear it's actually direct uploads, which I don't think it is, I'm seeing it more as how in Superman in the Fortress of Solitude with the holograms? It's based on them.
It copies all his brain activity and rebuilds that essentially. But then, at that point, it's kind of the same person, right? If it's all their memories, like all every thought they've ever had is in there. Is it the same person?
I'm trepidatious. I'm just I'm treading lightly on this topic, and the reason why I'm treading lightly on it is because I feel like I won't be surprised if we're down this path where they're actually copying consciousness into computers and AI and being able to redistribute it, and that would line up with the conversation last episode in the flashbacks about if you remember, Logan was like, oh, they're lighting the match that's setting the world on fire, like humanity's dead as we know it. Like that would line up with that they're kind of uploading everyone to a cloud and we're going all San Junipero or whatever. Like that would work. I'm tiptoeing on it though. I don't want to go head first into it, and the reason why is because I do feel like, at least given everything else in the show so far, it's such a new tangent to go down in terms of...
It is, but it's a logical extension. It's not out of nowhere.
It's logical extension, but it is a very different field, because up until now it's about AI gaining self-awareness and life. And arguably the reason why you do this other one where it's people becoming data essentially so they can live forever or whatever is it's almost the exact opposite, and maybe that offers a nice counterbalance, a nice sort of parallel between the two.
Do you know, I just on that, an extension of an idea I was theorizing last week is, how I said, what if the weapon is this, I mentioned this almost like facility where they can rebuild these personalities and clone them. Right, and send some sleeper agents out into the world was something I said last week. What if there already are sleeper agents out there? What if Delos has been doing that? What if some people have died in the park and they just send home a copy?
Oh, if they die by accident, so they
not that they murdered them, but someone's died in the park and they're like, oh, we don't want people. No, but we'll slap together a
it's possible. I think everything we're talking about now.
It's very hypothetical.
It's very hypothetical. I think all of this is interesting speculation, but I don't think there's any concrete actual...
No, I agree. That was just I had that thought right after we watched it last week, and then over the week it developed a little.
I do think that whole thing about the light in the match that's going to change humanity, that whole conversation from last week, I think that's the one sign that there's definitely more to what they're going to do with the data in the park and and whatever they're doing, whatever William proposed to Daddy Delos is. I feel like there is more to that, and it could be very much this. It could be copying consciousness and selling that, and selling our immortality and whatever else. but I feel like I need more. It's kind of like how last season we heard the theory about William being the young man in black.
And we were skeptical for a while, because they weren't giving us loads to go on.
No, but it was over the course of the season, they just gave it a little bit. And I remember the episode I got convinced it wasn't the actual hard concrete evidence, because that was like a few episodes later, because we got really excited. When we actually saw that photo again, it was like, oh my god, they just confirmed that there's 2 timelines. It was thematic. There was a point in the season where it just felt thematically like, oh no, now it works. Like before it didn't, but now they've got to a point where this works. And I feel like if we're going to go down that path, then great, we're along for that journey and we'll get to that point. But tiptoes so far. Yeah. Treading lightly.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I can also see it going a completely different way that we're just not predicting.
No, I agree. And I also think this episode had the least on that sort of stuff. As much as we actually got the stuff that's inside Abernathy is there.
Oh yeah, this was more ideological. This was more about Teddy, Dolores, and even Maeve debating with, and also a lot of the themes that we've had about living out fantasies and how he programmed that love story because he felt unfulfilled in his life, and it was, his way of doing it the way he thought it should be, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting because, Maeve says, you kind of made Hector the version of yourself that you wish you could have been.
Which is actually really funny then that they clash so much.
Yeah.
In the scenes.
And I really like the point where it's along those lines there where, so he's like, hey, stop holding hands. He's like, he can't comprehend the idea of them doing this because they want to. And Hector's, he's like, I don't care about Isabella. I realize that was a program and I'm all for Maeve now. And he says that was just programming. This is real. And I'm going,
but is it?
Has Maeve just got the reins of the programming?
Yeah, because we know that Maeve has been, had some control before. We know she has commands for the others, and she might just be controlling, which is also interesting in and of itself that he thinks this is real, but he's just been controlled again.
Because he says he overcame his programming for something real. And I think it'll be really sad for a moment if it's like, it's confirmed to him that this isn't real either. And
does he rebel against Maeve when he learns this, that he's been controlled?
He just swap sides and jump over to Dolores' camp.
Maybe. Because he'll want vengeance.
Yeah.
But again, very different and arguably, if she is, then they're both controlling people. I mean, she's only controlling one person as a bodyguard, essentially, whereas Dolores is trying to massacre people. So one's definitely higher up in the crazy scale than the other one is. But yeah, no, it's very interesting. Actually, do you know what I love as well? I love that Maeve is walking around in like modern clothes. There's something, and she's got like her hair braided back and one tail. There's something just because last year's season it was also like she's constantly in the old timey dress and the saloon.
I think it's particularly amusing because you got Sizemore going around in the overalls and suspenders and stuff.
Yeah, with the hat. Yeah, it looks quite dark. Yeah, no, it's entertaining just flipping that stuff. Oh, by the way, I love that Armistice is back. She is the badass robot killer that I have missed dearly.
Plus with a flamethrower.
She has a dragon.
It's a fantastic moment.
She has a dragon.
He's so excited by it as well.
Oh dear. I just I do love some of the fish out of water stuff. Like, obviously again the Confederados being like shocked by the cars and the vehicles and just being like I do want like some more of that. Like what if Dolores thinks she's got it all figured out, she gets outside and then something she's never thought of encountering, she's never seen before, just like completely stops on her tracks.
Yeah, as much as she thinks she knows.
Yeah, because obviously there's times when she was taken out the part where she was turned off for duration, so she won't remember the whole trip.
Yeah.
So, will she struggle with, say, the concept of, I don't know, the internet?
Ironically, I think that would probably be one of the easiest things to grasp because the hosts have that consciousness that links them anyway.
Okay, maybe the concept, but like, okay, how about this? How about the idea of paying for something, especially like if it's not, if it's not paper money anymore? Like, just imagine Dolores going into a coffee shop, right? I'm
just thinking, because obviously they still paid for things in Westworld, as far as they're concerned. Well, yeah,
right? they did, but like, I'm just saying, like, there would be stumbling blocks.
Oh, there would be, absolutely, but yeah, I'd be interested to see what they are.
I don't know what it is. I can't think of it off the top of my head. But I can see there being some big thing that she's just never encountered, and it'll just kind of like almost humble her because she thinks she has everything figured out, and then it'll be like she'll see a plane or something and be like, huh?
A plane's a good one because she'll be familiar with cars and trains. I'm assuming she sees a car at some point.
Yeah, trains for sure.
She's seen the cars driving around here. They come up to her, right? The battle here. She's not shocked by them. So that one, but the planes might, because that's different.
I'm thinking of transport, that's the easy one, but I'm just...
No, you're right, but I think flight is the one that she hasn't experienced.
Yeah, no. Unless Bernard or Arnold turned her on when she was on a plane at one point, and she looked out the window, and we'll get that flashback, and she'll be like, "Oh my god, we're flying, we're magical."
We might get that, yeah.
We might get that. Also, just the idea that she knows that he's based on Arnold, and he doesn't, is just fascinating.
It is.
I like it. So that's episode. Any other tidbits you want to...
Yeah, I've got a big thing. So,
big thing. Oh.
Yeah, Bernard gets he unlocks the data, whatever's in Abernathy, right? I'm pretty sure he takes it into himself. Because he's a little bit shaky before, but he is struggling to walk afterwards. Like, and Abernathy was, freaking out a lot. He was having all his seizures and tics.
Do you think in present day then they've actually got Abernathy and he's like empty and they're like, where did it go?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure Abernathy does get away. And they've told Bernard that he has.
Wait a minute. Let's just go back to the theory that there's someone in there. I think the popular one right now is Daddy Delos. But let's say there's someone in there. Does he start like getting their memories as like flashbacks?
Oh, there's so much potential for that.
Because it starts like intermingling with his, and it starts confusing the matter.
Yeah. Oh, that could be good.
You get really trippy as well, potentially. If that's
maybe that's why Abernathy is so stuck on the loops between personalities, because there's this other personality trying to come through. Yeah. He doesn't really know who he is.
It's worth mentioning. This. The reason why the theory is that it's Daddy Delos who's in him is because it adds weight to the photograph, giving him a reaction, because he would recognise the people in it.
Yeah, it was his daughter.
Yeah, so that's why it affected him so much. It's not just that he was confused by the cars and the modern day stuff. Yeah. It was like he recognised the people.
There is, and also stuff like at the retirement party last episode. He's like, I don't have that much time, because. William's like, hey, just have some patience, we'll get there. And he's like, I don't have that time, I don't have the luxury of patience. And so, maybe they just store him in here until it's ready.
I think I like the idea, though, that they've not done a lot of this shit. He's like the prototype. Like, he's maybe the first one they've actually tried to put in a robot, if that's what they've done.
Yeah. Well, it works.
Maybe. And maybe part of the reason why Ford wanted everyone to rebel, and why Arnold was against everything, is that they saw it going a certain way, and that's actually what they're fighting against, rather than just, host, rise up and be free and take your own world.
Yeah, definitely.
And whatnot.
But I do think it's inside Bernard now, after the way he reacts afterwards, and the way he stumbles away.
That is, if not like transferred, at least copied, or at least partially copied. I wonder if maybe he got some of it and then he couldn't take any more. And
yeah, maybe that's why you know how all the hosts are in the water, and he says this is all my fault. I wonder if it's not
Bernard's fault. It's whoever's like in that data's fault.
Yeah, or alternatively, he's uploaded bits of that data into all of them, wiped it from the wherever else it can be, and then just killed them all. There's bits of it in them, so it's like, well, we can't get that getting back to them.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder if just in the flashback, like, what if there's someone else inside him now from this data? Does he like actually change into that person at some point? Like, does it take over at some point?
That'd be interesting.
I don't know. A lot of potential though. A lot of potential with that.
Just a couple of the little things I was liking is Dolores' accent. I don't know if you noticed this. When she's Wyatt, it drops completely, because she puts on the accent, for the
No, I did catch her. I don't know if I actually acknowledged it was the accent that dropped, but I did notice like a change in
it's the accent,
tone and demeanor, and
I think it's a really nice tell going forwards, and because we've seen her drop the accent before, where she's when they're in host mode of we can just program you.
Also, there's scenes in this that just again going back to the score, that just felt way more sci-fi than season 1.
No, that's true.
Whenever they're wandering those corridors and there's like sci-fi, like sort of synth playing and stuff, it very much plays with the idea that in the Westworld part you get the piano covers, in the other parts you get the Indian instruments, and in the tunnels and in the base it's all synthy kind of.
The other Indian piece I like, because obviously we talked about Seven Nation Army, but the other one was as they were riding on the elephants, we got a version of the train music, the entrance.
Oh yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
I thought that was a real nice touch. But the other thing that I thought was a really nice world building thing is when when Charlotte gets back to the base and she's like, "I'm human, I'm human." She's like, "Look,
the back of the neck.
Turn around." They tag her like there's an identity chip in all of them. So maybe that's how they tell that Bernard's a host eventually. It's like okay, that's
very good. They have a little device that tells them she's human. So. I mean, and he was asleep when they found him. So even if the theory that they're doing this over and over, and they've just found him legitimately at the start of episode 1, they could still have already checked him.
Someone could have tagged him before they realised who he was quite easily. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, lots of potential there.
Yeah. Also, zombie Clementine is kind of terrifying.
She is terrifying. Yeah, she's just in the army with Dolores' group. Yeah. And she's very she's just dragging bodies behind her and shit, and she's very, again, I hate to just keep using the word Terminator to describe robots who look scary, but she is.
But she's got the zombie look going on, right?
I think it's just her face. I feel like she has a very kind of she's very attractive, but it's a very kind of slim, kind of scary attractive.
It is, yeah.
Like you could cast her as a witch and it'd be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, right? I get you.
The makeup she's got around her eyes just kind of really accent the bones, and it's kind of like, oh no, it's like, Madame Death is coming for you.
Yeah. No, I realised, I think it did a lot to really expand the world of the universe here.
No, having Charlotte both in the present day, and I mean she might be out of the flashback now completely because she ran off and found people, but. Probably not though, because she's with Abernathy. I expect we'll see more of that, and she's in present day now as well with Bernard and Co. So very interesting, lots of things in motion, and I think I love how different this is from season 1 because we are full in everything. The uprisings is going on, so everything's completely different. But season 1 was a much slower build in the sense that there was a lot of something's building but nothing's happened yet. There's a lot of Arnold's talking to Bernard and he's talking to Teresa and there's all these things are going on. Whereas this, it's like, there's a siege going on. There's people running around corners shooting people with flamethrowers and all sorts.
Yeah, it's cool.
Action packed. So, but no, by all means, let us know what you think of the episode and your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Obviously, go over to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You'll find a list of all the various shows we do, including all the audio feeds that we do. This one's on our sort of regular, almost cancelled audio feed with a bunch of other cable shows and stuff. Otherwise, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. There's a link to everything in the description. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?